Today at High Flyers in STEM, Greatness Has No Gender, we are spotlighting Novo Nordisk Production Ireland, who drive change to defeat serious chronic diseases. Today we have Pauline Guinan, Senior Director of Analytical Development, and Aisling Horan, Associate Director of Validation, joining us to share how they have created impactful careers by pushing the boundaries of science and inclusion. This is more than just success, it's about making a difference. Thank you to our sponsor Spinero, a multi-award-winning company that specialises in financial success for contractor, freelancers and solopreneurs. It's a pleasure to have you on the show, Pauline and Aisling. Thank you so much for coming today, and I'm really looking forward to speaking to you and learning a little bit about your journeys. So Aisling, if I can start with you, just telling me a little bit about your journey in STEM, what got you into STEM in the first place, and tell me a little bit how it got you to where you are today.
Thanks a million. I suppose for me, it was a very organic process. I got really interested in science through my science teacher in secondary school. I went to Our Lady's Bower, shout out, Trish Goff, and she made everything so interesting when it came to STEM subjects. And I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, like a lot of young girls and young boys too. And I just followed the subjects that I really enjoyed. And that took me to University of Galway, where I did undenominated science, and I ended up with a degree in microbiology. From there then I joined the Athlone site in the microlab, and over time moved to the validation department. So it's been very organic. Might have felt a little directionless back at the start, but it all worked out in the end.
Brilliant. And what's your role at the moment? You're Associate Director of Validation.
Yes, so I head up the validation team. So there's a team of 14 of us all together. Engineers, scientists, really good group. And I have the privilege and the joy of leading them. So it's
brilliant.
Really fun.
And you've come through a couple of acquisitions.
I joined Elan Drug Technologies in 2003, giving my age away now. Then Alchemase and now Novo Nordisk.
Brilliant. And Pauline, what about you? How did you get into STEM in your current career?
Probably similar. My interest first was in school. I really loved biology and maths and had great teachers as well. But to be honest, my original plan was to become a teacher. So I went to Maynooth to do a BSc in science. So I did maths, physics, biology and chemistry with the intention of going on to do a HDip. But when I was in Maynooth, I actually started studying chemistry for the very first time. I fell in love with chemistry. I loved all the laboratories, the experiments, and I actually changed my plan. I went on and did a PhD in chemistry. And then eventually after that, I came to work in the pharmaceutical industry, and I moved back home, got a job in a generics manufacturing company in Roscrea and Tipperary. And that got me into the labs then. I started off in QC. And then I went into product development lab where we were developing new generic drug products. And then after different events in my career, then I moved to Athlone and I joined Elan, which then became Alchemase, which is now Novo Nordisk today. So I've always worked in the R&D section, and I've always worked managing like laboratories, and we were involved in developing new drug products, tablets and capsules and all the different dosage forms that there is, and studying them from early to late stage development. So it was brilliant. Really exciting. And
it's lovely to see the not conventional, that we can change our minds anyway through the kind of journey as well, can't we? And going from teaching into being a senior director. If you were to start all over again, and there's so many different STEM options out there now, would you choose anything differently, or would it be a similar path? Or
I was thinking about this, and looking back, I think I would have probably do a science degree where there's like an industrial placement or like a graduate rotation. We have a great programme in Novo Nordisk, and we bring in graduates and they get to spend 2 years, and they get to spend like 6 months in different sections, validation, quality, engineering. It's a fantastic programme, and they get the experience, and then they realise then like, oh yeah, this is the direction I want to go for my career. I'd love to, if I was young again, that's what I would do.
Yeah, so that exposure. Really drives your decision quicker, doesn't it?
Because when you come out of college, you really don't know. You still haven't any work-life experience. So I think that's a fantastic programme. So looking back, that's what I would do again.
And what about you, Aisling? Anything that you would do differently?
I think Pauline makes a great point about the graduate programme. I think it's amazing. It's a great chance to see what's out there. As I said, I was kind of directionless and followed what I was interested in. So in one way, I wouldn't change anything, because where I am now, it's very much the best bits of my journey along the way. Hopefully it's not done yet. And it's just another step, another few steps. So I don't think I would change anything for myself, but I think the programmes like Pauline is talking about, they're just so great. It would have been lovely to have.
And a lot of companies are doing that now, which is great to see. So many options, not just everyone going for the one stream. They can try so many different things, which is good. When you think about STEM careers, they're not often thought a career of choice for women. I think that's changing. I do think that's being considered more and more of a choice. When you look at the stats that are out there now, and you talk about 30% of graduates now from engineering are women, which is improving. I think it's 35% worldwide. Why do you think that they're not considered a career choice for women?
I think that's a really great question. And I think there's a few reasons for it. You alluded to it at the start there. It hasn't been a traditional role for women. And Pauline, you touched on it as well. It's teacher is kind of what people think about when it comes to science or STEM subjects for girls. Or people think you're going to end up in a laboratory, which is actually a great job because both of us have been in a laboratory. So we know it's a really good job. Or if you do engineering subjects, a building site. But there's so much else out there once you have a STEM degree. You know, there's so many things you don't even realise. It's one of the great things for us now being part of such a big company with Novo Nordisk. We even get to see the options that are out there. And for us, I suppose the options are out there and being headed up by women. So that's really, really positive. I totally get now why that's a thing. Absolutely. And that I think it's a lot of it, not knowing what options are out there. And then it not being the popular choice. It's hard when you're that age, starting out, to go against or go out and be a bit different. So I think it's to make it more popular, make it seen, and I suppose make it a bit more tangible to people.
How do you do that?
In my experience, I actually did some work with one of the primary national schools in Athlone. I had a great experience with a company called the STEAM Education Company, and this brilliant program where you actually get volunteers from your company and you get them to go into the schools. You partner up with a school. We actually partnered up with St. Peter's National School. It's an all-girls school. And we send those in and they co-teach the modules, the engineering modules to the kids in the school. It's absolutely fantastic.
Because you're coming from a complete different angle.
Exactly. Yeah. And the kids love when they see new people coming into the classroom to do like hands-on projects. It's brilliant for them to do like a little project at the end. And then at the end of it all, we brought them over to our campus and we got to bring them on a tour of the campus. We were showing them all the female women that were working on the site. You know, some of the kids actually didn't even know about, say, the company that was there. But what we did learn from the STEAM Education Company, it's really important to target children between 9 and 13 years of age, which is really, really young. I didn't realise that. And so we were teaching 4th, 5th and 6th class students. But they say influencing career choice,
that's when you have to get them.
That's when you need to get them. So it can be too late, actually, if you're waiting until secondary school, because some of the girls have made their choice then. Yeah, so we did that. It was really good. Got great participation. A lot of our graduate program participants, they volunteered as well, which was great. So they could see young people seeing their role models as well. Yeah. But I think initiatives like that are fantastic.
And I love the fact that the practical and the on-site, you bring it from the classroom into industry, make it real. And it's very interesting, like 9 to 13, because I think my kids are between 7 and 12 and I would have thought 13, 14, you know.
I only fell in love in chemistry when I was in university. So look at But really, if you want to make that impact, it has to be when they're young.
And it's very real, isn't it? It's like when they talk about toddlers and the influencing ages are really young as well. It's probably true. Get the interest then and they'll make their subject choices based on that. Not everyone, because we'll all pivot at different times in our career. But yeah, it's really, really interesting. When we talk about some of the challenges and the barriers kind of leading into that from the journeys that you've been on and into leadership, how do you overcome them? Like if you think of maybe a challenge that has been in front of you in your career and something that you've had to overcome, can you give me an example of a time when you've had to address something like that?
I have a great example. My experience of losing my job. You know, and that was quite earlier on in my career, and that can happen anybody, can be very isolating. You find that you sort of lose your identity because you've lost your job. Then you have to sort of dust yourself off and get out into the job market again. So you do that, and I found then it was great then. I came to work in Athlone and I had to try and integrate into a bigger team, learn new skills. But I had great mentors. I was really lucky that I met some great leaders along the way and they helped me with that transition. But overall, that experience will definitely make you a lot stronger, a lot more resilient, a lot better at changing, you know, facing changes.
And it's frightening when it happens first because you can't see a future ahead of you for the first time. Yeah.
That's exactly it. But when you look back, then you see, oh yeah, you've learned so much.
Maybe explaining to some of our listeners that it doesn't all go to plan sometimes. We've got to change and pivot, and plan can change as you go on as well. Would you have anything, a learning from the development and challenges and obstacles that you've come across, Aisling?
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting one because I could think of a few challenges. The key one for me would be confidence in myself and confidence in my leadership abilities. And I think a lot of women can relate to that. And I'd like to say that, I have it all sorted, but I'm still a work in progress. One way that I overcame it, and I had 2 allies and mentors that would have been my first male bosses at the start, who put me forward for projects and roles that I wouldn't have volunteered for. That they saw that potential in me that I hadn't quite figured out yet. Even in Novo Nordisk now, since we have joined them, I've noticed that's still something that's going strong. We went on a leadership assessment recently. A few of us from Athlone were sent to it. And it was so nice. We were given access to senior leaders. We were given constructive, tangible feedback for our development. And we got to make a network between Athlone and Denmark. So it was really, really useful. And all those little steps and little things are like the little building blocks on your confidence. So it's not something that I overcame on my own. I think that's all part of the network.
And since stepping into a leadership role then, Aisling, what advice would you give to someone now, maybe early stages going into that leadership and having to learn the art of delegation and problem solving and people management? Any advice you'd give to someone?
Yeah, for me, I think you can lead long before you're actually given a leadership. That's one thing that I've learned. I suppose I was leading before I was given the opportunity to lead a group. So that's one thing I would say for younger people starting out early on. The other thing is authentic leadership. You have to be authentic. You have to be your real self. You can try on other styles, but the time when people will really lean in and follow you is when you're authentic, when you're yourself, and when you're able to be vulnerable. With regards to delegation, that's a fun one. I got a piece of advice from a kind of a random training thing that I went on years ago. And it was when you give somebody work to do, especially if it's the first time they've done it, give them the guardrails, give them a good outline and the guardrails of what it is. And then step back. Give them space to make it theirs. Give them time to course correct and make yourself available. And if you get back 75% of what you would have done, that's a serious win, and celebrate it. And it's all about that kind of building somebody else's confidence, that kind of piece. So
definitely. And I think it's only when you actually do that delegation and you empower others, allow them to be accountable, that you realise, oh, this is fantastic, because when they're able to do that for themselves, it actually frees up your own time and you get to work on the strategic things or the things in your work that you need to work on. But I think it has to be like a lived experience. I think it's only when you do that with your team and you actually see how it empowers them. And, I think that's when it works. Yeah.
And it is hard, isn't it? To hand over the reins to someone and trust someone else to do that. But it's so necessary. Otherwise, there's no growth. Do you think that women choosing family are at an advantage or disadvantage to their career development?
Look, there's no doubt when you go out on maternity leave, you're not there to contribute. So you can miss out on opportunities like projects or maybe new technologies or training. But what I see this is like a temporary thing. So when you come back, you can always catch up on your training again. And you can also go and ask for opportunities to participate in projects. But you do need to be strong and, make your voice heard. Talk to your line manager and say, look, I need this opportunity. The other advantage I see coming back off maternity leave is you're more enthusiastic about your job because you've been away from a while, and it's actually great to get back working again. Well, it was for me anyway, to get the brain working again, and that was really good. Yeah, I don't see it as a disadvantage. It might take you maybe a little bit longer to try and catch up. Yes. But there's no reason. It's up to you. It's within your own power to go after that. I don't see it as a major disadvantage. It actually definitely improves your time management skills because you're more focused during the day, get your work done. And I've seen that with a lot of female employees in my section. Yeah, they're real go-getters. It's really brilliant.
But you've got the hard stop now that you don't necessarily have, be it childcare pickup or time management. I think that's a perfect way of managing it.
Yeah. I think my experience was slightly different. I chose not to have a family. And I think we can do so much as female leaders so that it's not an advantage or a disadvantage. I think society kind of uses women's choices as weapons against them. And as female leaders, I think when you take that power away and take our power back, you make your choice, you decide to have a family, decide to not have a family, you shouldn't be at an advantage or a disadvantage. But when a woman decides to have children, it's such an important role and we need it. We absolutely need kids to have mums who are involved, mums and dads, but women, when they come back from maternity, like you said, Pauline, they're dying to get back into it. So why not support them? Give them that space, give them that time and show them the encouragement that you might have, as you say, missed out on a few things, but we'll get you back up to speed. And I think showing that loyalty, showing that support and care, you'll get it back. Yes. You know Pauline. Yeah, Pauline is an amazing manager. She has a great team behind her. But Pauline, I'm sure you see it. Yeah. You give it exponentially, to use a scientific phrase, back what you give in support. And I think that's important. Let's not talk about equality. You know, men are doing a great job, they're doing their bit, but women we expect to do a bit more. So let's give them the support while we need it. As I say, it's just a short period of time in your full career.
And I think it is very valued, as you said. It comes from home, doesn't it? To be able to see that your parents can excel and be parents, and equally, if you choose not that route, the support and the encouragement behind that is really important too. What skills or qualities do you think are essential for women aiming for leadership roles in STEM?
The ones for me that stand out is being passionate about the work that I do and being able to inspire my team. And I think that's sort of easy in a pharmaceutical company because, especially in the section I'm in, we're involved in developing and producing new drug products. And you always know that product is going to go to a patient, you know, if we can get it through the whole life cycle. So that passion needs to go to your team and inspire them so that and lead them. The other thing for me is having those qualities of building up a good team around you and being able to build that trust in your team. And yeah, that's so important so you can empower them. But definitely resilience is something a woman definitely has to have, and you have to believe in yourself and have confidence, because if you have that confidence, then that'll pass through into your team. Yeah, so you really need to have resilience. I think there's some of the qualities I can think of.
And I think as well, Pauline, from that, a lot of that comes from being your authentic self.
I was just going to say, you spoke about that earlier.
You have that comfort in yourself and the confidence in yourself when you're not trying to wear a mask. And what women in STEM, in leadership in STEM can bring is a bit of diversity in leadership. And we know that's so important. Diversity of thought, diversity of leadership, so that we don't have blinkers on and we can see different blind spots. I think they're important.
Do you think that leadership styles evolve with age?
For me, I think definitely age has brought me more self-awareness and a bit more confidence in myself as a leader. So it's made me a more authentic leader. So I definitely think it has changed that. But I don't think the question is either or, because for me, my core values haven't changed when it comes to leadership. And I think when I think of those core values, I think of, you know, transparency, fairness and loyalty to the team, and showing them the same loyalty that they're shown to you.
You can adapt core traits that comes from your own personality, you know, being fair and listening and, you know, all of those things, that building up trust. But you can change your style, because I could say, my experience was much earlier on in my career. I experienced a lot more directive styles, being told what to do. And sometimes you would have emulated that in the beginning. Absolutely. But nowadays, I think there's more like a collaborative approach. Yeah. And people realise that it's a much better solution for everyone if you take that approach, empower your teams, you know, and give people more ownership of their work. But definitely down through my time working in the pharma, I've seen the difference from when I started out first to where we've got to now.
Yeah, I agree. I think it takes us a while even to realise what they are.
Absolutely.
And that comes with age then, and how we bring our authentic selves. Are we on more level playing field now than we were a decade ago?
If I look back over my many years in science, I definitely think that there's been a huge improvement.
Yeah,
I definitely can see it. You're both probably too young to remember this, but I know when I went out on my first maternity leave, I only got 12 weeks. And, you know, I had to come back to work after 12 weeks. My baby was still waking up at night for feeds and everything. I think the big game changer has been the HR policies on work-life balance and having good maternity leave, flexible work arrangements, hybrid work arrangements. I think they've been really big game changers, because they've helped to sustain people and keep women in their STEM roles and not to be giving them up. That's definitely one thing. I also think companies nowadays, there's a lot more promotion of diversity, inclusion and belonging. And as part of that is looking for gender equality. And I know that's definitely a big goal within Novo Nordisk. I know that they look for a target of 45% female participation in the workforce, and they're working towards that. And I know we're just new to the company now, but I know already in the section I work in, that actually has been achieved. And there's actually, I think it's 51% to 49% female to male, which is absolutely, and it was the first thing that struck us when Novo Nordisk came to our site, the level of female participation in the workforce. We were blown away by it, so it was really fantastic.
That probably brings us into the mentorship and how they have influenced your leadership style and the way you lead your teams today.
For me, I think that question, it brings up a lot of really nice thoughts. I kind of get a bit emotional about it, because when I think of some of the women that we had at the Athlone site over the years that I looked up to from when I started my career from just out of college, there was really, really great examples of women who just looked like it was so easy. And over the years, they were very open and very helpful and gave us opportunities, talked about us when we weren't in the room, and gave us a bit of insight that they didn't have it all sorted when they started. And even at the stage they were at, they were still a work in progress. And for me, that has been fabulous. And I think it's such a privilege. Some of those folks aren't working on site anymore. They've gone on to other roles in other companies. But it's funny, their mark still stays with you.
And I think it's watching out for those opportunities, as a leader in the company, looking out for those opportunities to mentor other colleagues.
Absolutely.
And look out for opportunities to go on mentorship programs. Yeah, it's really important that you encourage your teams to do that. Yeah, I had some really good experience of being on a mentorship program, the Mindful Leader program, and it was a great program that we embarked on. But part of that was, say, one of your areas of weakness, because we did a lot of skills assessment and all of that. For me, it would be good if I worked outside my area of R&D and that I expanded my wings a bit on the site and improved my visibility and all of that. And I know part of what exercise he gave to me, he understood that, to do that, you have to do through learning. Mm-hmm. So he gave me the task of heading up the best place to work survey, another lady. So the two of us were given that job to, collate all the information for the survey, and it meant, collaborating with a lot of different stakeholders across the site and collating all the information and writing the report. Yeah, it was definitely...
No small task.
No small task, but look, it was brilliant. It definitely improved my delegation skills in my own, empowering my own team, because you just can't
do it all.
Can't do it all. You learned that. And I say, gave me a lot of confidence in leading my own team. But it's just an example, through mentorship, you can get encouragement, to take on these skills that help improve you as a leader. Yeah. So I would definitely encourage people to watch out for mentorship programs.
And you probably give it back now. Do you mentor people in your own roles?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Because you know how important it is from receiving it yourselves.
Yes. So the next cohort that came after us to do that program, we all became mentors.
Paying it forward.
Yeah.
Okay, brilliant.
I think it's so nice to hear from somebody that you look up to and you assume they had it easy or it was natural. And for them to tell you, this was not natural. No, I had to work on this and this is what I did. And I know it's something that both myself and Pauline try to do for others that are coming behind us, especially people who are starting in their careers, and also women that aren't starting in their careers. The women that maybe, the children are reared now and now they're ready to kind of invest in a bit of them time for their careers. And I think
the
that's
energy
important.
Back again to give to work.
It's not just the new recruits, it's at all stages of your career.
How do you stay motivated and inspired? And when you think about being at our best and learning and bringing the best version of yourself to work, is there advice you'd give to someone around that?
For me, it's definitely my network. I think the ladies, I suppose, that I work with on a day-to-day basis, when you're not having a good day, and it happens, great for buoying you up and saying it's one blip. I think that's important. I know we're going through a change process at the moment, and it's very, very interesting. And at times you can feel like you're the only one. And we were both actually on a change session not so long ago, and everyone was really honest and open and vulnerable. And it was lovely to realise that we were all in the same kind of place in the journey. And you realise then this is temporary. It's, it's part of a bigger picture, and just to go with it and trust the process. And I think when you know that your network is going through the same thing, you're not on your own, you're not an island, it makes it a little bit easier. I think we're very lucky to get that support.
When you're in that zone where it's a little bit difficult, we can isolate ourselves thinking we're the only one going through it.
Absolutely.
So 100% agree.
I definitely found I get my energy from things I do outside of work. So when I get to that stage, I sort of turn to my hobbies, and that sort of gives me my energy then back in. So I love the choir, and we actually have a great choir in Novo Nordisk. And
wow.
It's fantastic. And so there's a choir in my own village where I live in. So things like that, going to the gym, getting to work out. But I find making that time for myself, then it sort of recharges your energy, and then you're able to refocus again. And I don't know, it just helps you to face those challenges and embrace those
time
changes.
for the brain.
It's a quiet time for the brain to switch off and recharge yourself. So I think that definitely works for me. That helps me.
Yeah. So if we were to leave our listeners with one message that you would like to share, what would that be today?
Oh, definitely for me then it's making time for yourself.
Leads in perfectly. Yeah.
Keep doing the things that you love. And I know that's hard as, adults in your life. There's a lot of things that can pull out of you. For me, it's just keep making time for yourself.
For me, it's about being authentic, building your network and building those relationships. I think when we talk about building a network, it can feel so kind of forced. But really all it is, and we women are great at doing it, it's building relationships. Just talking to people, getting to know people. And I think that's so important. And opportunities will come when people see who you are and what you're interested in. I think it's all part of it.
I agree. And I think you never know where you build a relationship, do you? It can be anything from the gym to the choir to work
absolutely.
to back to our college days in school. It can be everywhere, and you don't know when you will touch upon it again, but it's always there once you leave people with your authentic real self and your genuine coming into it. Thanks a million. That's it for today's episode of High Flyers in STEM, Greatness Has No Gender, with Novo Nordisk. Next week, we're shifting focus to MGS, where Anna and Michelle will share what it takes to lead with impact in manufacturing. If Pauline and Aisling's story inspired you, hit subscribe and leave a review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts or YouTube. Together we can champion more women into STEM careers. Thank you once again to our sponsors Finero, and until next time, keep innovating, keep breaking barriers, and remember, greatness has no gender.